Hi there, Jaden here. In this video, I will show you guys my drawings for the Art Month Challenge, Swordtember. Swordtember is basically a month-long challenge for September, where you draw 30 different swords based on word prompts of the 30 days. So basically, you're drawing 30 different themed swords. I have done Swordtember back in 2023, and I had fun doing it. And actually, you know what? I'll just show them. Here are my swords back from 2023. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Okay, now back on track. I went to pick up the prompt sheet from the creator itself on their Twitter, and I immediately got to work. So, I will show the process of each of these swords while I explain how I came up with their designs. I hope you guys enjoy it. Now let's get started. Day 1 is wings. So for this sword, I wanted to give it a winged theme. I haven't thought of any interesting designs for this one, so I just drew like a somewhat normal blade, but at the handle I drew some wings on the sword's crossguards. And to show its proper theme, I added some extra wings around the blade. I guess it's to show the sword's ability to conjure wings, and I don't know, maybe helping the person who holds it fly? To be completely honest, I did have a little help with this one. On the first day I was a bit struggling, and I didn't know what to do, so I had some friends help me with this design a little bit, and after I got some help I added some colors, and with a bit of shading, there we have it. The winged sword and the first day of Swordtember is finished. Day 2 is floral. Now, I'm gonna be honest, I did not know what this word means. So before I got to work, I searched it up on what the word meant. For the word floral, it had to do with flowers. And then I got to work making this flower-like sword. The first thing I did when it came to making this flower-like sword, what came to my mind is a sunflower. So I looked up a reference of a sunflower and I went with that. The process of making the sword was basically, well, from top to bottom the entire sword looks like an actual sunflower on a flower pot, but with a little root coming out. Because I thought of this blade to also be like a saw. Like for example, if you pull the root that's on the bottom of the pot, the blades on top will spin, and it'll be like those machines that'll like cut grass. I don't know what I'm saying, but yeah, day 2's floral is done. Day 3 is Cursed Relic. Now, I am gonna be honest, I had a hard time with this one. I know it's the third day of this challenge, but we all struggle, let's be honest. Anyways, I tried looking up examples of Cursed Relic items, and all it showed up was like the Cuphead DLC relic, and something else about the game Terraria, or Terraria. I don't know how to pronounce that name. I still didn't understand, so I just went with a plain old sword. But the sword is corrupted with an evil eyeball around the middle of the sword, giving the sword like a red aura that depicts that the sword is like cursed. Yeah, I got nothing else to say, but that's Day 3 sword. It's something. Day 4 is Divine Relic. Okay, for this one, it's just like the Cursed Relic sword, but when I mentioned about Cuphead earlier, of when you can somehow restore the Cursed Relic in the game, yeah, I sort of did that with this sword. I tried making it holy, but I don't know much about that, so I just used light colors, because the previous sword had like dark colors, so I tried making it the exact opposite of that one. But yeah, Day 4 sword is complete. Day 5 is a sort of silly sword because the word prompt is edible. Now, this sword kind of made me laugh, and I'll explain why. I first looked up what the word meant just to be safe, and it mentioned food, so I went with that. But instead of making a sword with one food item, I went with using the most popular foods there is and combining them together. A hamburger, fries, pizza, a shake, and with a fork and a spoon to eat off of it. The blade would be a big pizza with some bite marks. No, I didn't bite it. Anyways, this sword is just basically an entire feast. Also, I want to say the sword can summon food. Ah, heck, let's make that canon. God, explaining it makes me hungry. Anyways, day 5 sword is complete. Day 6 is smoke. Now, this process is not much of a process, because when I thought of smoke, the only thing that I can think of when it comes to being deadly like a sword was smoking. So yes, I made a sword based on a cigarette, because smoking literally kills your lungs. The sword is a pack of cigarettes, and with one out, if you light it up, a smoke-like blade comes out. But don't smoke, guys. That's bad. Okay? Okay. Anyways, day 6 sword is complete. Day 7 is moon. So for this sword, might be my favorite one thus far, because I love the moon. And I would put the moon in anything into my drawings back in my day. But anyways, so for this one, I would make a sickle-like sword that can kind of look like the moon, as well as the handle. You can see a symbol of a blue crescent moon in the middle to give away the theme. I try my best to avoid using dark colors for this one, because I wanted to try to get loose, but I just went with using dark colors instead. Somewhat, but I just find it more fitting, you know? I would really use something like this if it was real. And day 7 sword is complete. Day 8 is sun. Okay, this one was a bit of a challenge for me. I don't usually draw stuff based on the actual sun itself, but I at least try with this one at first. I first made a symbol of the sun, just like how I did with the moon sword, to once again show the theme of the sword. I made the top of the blade some sort of diamond. I can't remember why, but I just did it. At the top of the sword, there are some triangles that surround the tip of the blade. I guess I was trying to make sure that the sword can also be sun themed, rather than having a plain sword with just a sun symbol. I even made the sword glow, because the sun shines bright, and why not this sword? And with that, day sun sword is complete. Day 9 is ocean. Okay, so at first I was trying to go for a trident-like design, but it kinda looks similar to my previous sword, mermaid. So instead, I went to draw some stuff that I think can be found under the sea. Some coral, seaweed, sand, rocks, a treasure chest, and maybe a pineapple? I don't know what's under the sea. And to add some finishing touches, I surrounded the entire piece in blue to make the blade look like it is completely underwater. I had a bit of difficulty with it at first, but I'm glad how this one came out. I feel like getting more creative into giving these theme-like weapons, like this one, under the sea. And with that, day 9 sword ocean is done. Day 10 is ceremony slash ritual. So for this sword, I went and picked the word ceremony, and I once again looked up some examples of ceremonies, and they mentioned, well, weddings. So I went with that. I went and used a cake knife as the blade, and the cake knife was covered with some delicious looking frosting. Added some wedding bells by the bottom of the blade, and at the handle was a bouquet of flowers. You know, the ones that the bride usually throws during weddings. just to sweeten the mood, I added some wedding rings to the flowers because I thought they looked nice. This one wasn't very difficult. Now, I wonder if people would use this to actually cut cake and leave. But with that, day 10 sword is complete. Day 11 is dual. No, not the word D-U-A-L, it's D-U-E-L. I would draw a two-bladed weapon. That would be cool, but instead, it's a 1v1 sword fight. I didn't think of any interesting designs for this one. I just drew plain swords, but you'll just see me duplicate the same sword that I was drawing and just inverted the colors of the handle so they can I don't know, like cross blades, or I don't know how to explain it, but it's like how you see it when you're in a duel. Yeah, I have no explanation for this one, so I'm just gonna move on. Day 11 sword is complete. Day 12 is fire. No, literally, the prompt is fire. The sword is also fire, that means it's also cool, but the word prompt is fire. Now, when it comes to this prompt, I thought a flame pattern like sword. That's my one weakness. I always have trouble drawing fire. You know, like the pattern of it. Like, it's just so hard. I'm not sure how people do it. So, after drawing the sketch and doing some line work, which you can see, since the theme is fire, I used warm colors. I just did some random strokes at on the fire-like blade and blended them to show the sword's shine. And even added some glow because fire's lights up everything. Despite it being hot and can be dangerous, I like how the sword came out. It looks nice. And with that, day 12 sword is complete. Day 13, ice. I went and gave a somewhat similar design like the fire sword, but instead, I went and made the blade to completely made out of ice. You can see somewhere in the middle there's some sort of stick, but the blade is completely made out of ice. And also covered by some big ice glaciers, something like that. And to make it more cool, no pun intended, I surrounded the sword with snowflakes and ice cubes to, you already know the answer, give it the theme. Yeah, this sword's pretty cool. Okay, pun intended. Day 13 sword is complete. Day 14 is poisonous. Now, the only thing I thought of when it comes to poison is that red mushroom. You know, the red mushroom with the white bumps on it? That's poison. Oh, and actual poison. You know, the liquid kind. So I sort of mixed those two together. So I came up with the blade to be the red mushroom, you know, as the entire thing, with a blade at the top. A secret blade, if you think about it. I added a small canister of poison around the middle that attaches to the bottom of the red part of the mushroom, because there is a button near the poison, and if you push the button, the poison will go up to the mushroom to the top of the blade, and if someone gets hit, they get poisoned. Pretty cool, right? I think so. But in the future, I probably might have to redesign this one. But for now, day 14 sword is complete. Day 15 is liquid. We are halfway through the challenge, and I'm liking this one. So for day 15, I did a little cheat. I literally made a water bottle sword. You know, like a water bottle that's on top of this furniture table thing. The water bottle I used was mine. I used my actual water bottle that I usually drink out of as a reference. And right when I finished the drawing, the next day, I left the water bottle that I used for this drawing in the freezer, which caused it to break. The bottom of the water bottle was open and I couldn't use it anymore. I was so devastated. I couldn't believe that actually happened. But I guess the drawing will be like a memorial. Also, stay hydrated, folks. You gotta take care of your bones. And day 15 sword is complete. Speaking of bones, day 16 is tooth slash bone. Ah yes, my weakness, skeleton bones. I know I should avoid using actual bones, but I must go along with it. So I started a rough sketch on how the blade will turn out to be. After I'm done with that, I drew a sword out of a skeleton hand, a spine, and some random bones at the bottom of the handle. And because I wanted to look sharp, I added a shark tooth on top of the spine, you know, like as the tip of the blade. I managed to use both of these words for this prompt, and I mention this to myself sometimes. Practice more on drawing bones. Nah. Day 16 is complete. Day 17 is glass. Now, I'm gonna be honest, I could not think of any concept for this design, and I'm not used to drawing glass either, but I just went with what I got. Rather than using clear glass, I went and used colored glass, you know, those colored glass that you use in Minecraft. Yeah, I went with those. I used 8 different colored glass, because why not? I just wanted to make this sword a bit more colorful. Oh, and do be careful though, the tip is sharp. I like making swords sharp, but it's also fragile, so let's say that, like actual glass. Day 17 sword is complete. Day 18 is Jester. Oh boy, okay. I had a bit of stress when it came to this prompt, because I already made a sword based on this prompt in 2023. I wasn't expecting for it to come back. However, I used my good friend Google for a little help. I noticed that the jesters seem to have a little staff that they carry when entertaining. I don't know, I don't think jesters are that funny. I don't know a lot about jesters, but I just went along with it. I designed the staff with a bit of a surprise, because if you see, there's a button at the handle, and when you press it, the blade will come out of the jester. 2 on the side and 1 at the very top. Now, for the colors, I just went and used black and red. Classical colors to be used for this kind of stuff, not gonna lie. Oh, and can't forget the bells. Jesters do have bells. But I really liked how this one came out. This looks so much cooler than my previous Jester sword. And with that, day 18 sword is complete. Day 19 is Forest. Ah yes, what's more deadly and dangerous than Mother Nature itself? Especially when it comes to the forest. Yeah, I don't know what I'm going with. So for this one, I just made a big tree that indicates the blade. And instead of having just one big tree, I added more trees to indicate that it's an actual forest. But not just that, I also made a plain field of grass and dirt. And in the middle is a small, cute water fountain. You know, to give some water rather than feeling like the piece felt dry. But I really liked how this piece came out to be. And after drawing and following the rules of nature, day 19 sword is complete. Day 20 is Fragmented. This sword will look a bit better because it's based on day 17 sword, which was broken and reforged into this abstract-like piece. This piece kind of took me forever when making a somewhat abstracted piece, and you'll see me like shade and light all different colors. After having quite the difficulty, I managed to successfully redeem the glass sword into making a cool blade. But be careful, it's also fragile. But I would say I did like how this sword came out. It's so cool. And very colorful, I will say. And with that, Day 20 sword is complete. Day 21, eyes. And no, I did not make a sword out of eyeballs. I know, it's sad, but I didn't want to trauma anyone who has trypopophobia. Anyways, this one is not much for sword. Kinda like a wand-ish? But there's a pointed tip at the top, so I guess that counts as a sword. Anyways, this one, summons eyeballs. It may not look like a sword, but it's kinda like a weapon. I have thought an illustration for this one. This sword is a magic weapon that summons eyeballs. The summoned eyeballs can spread out and see the visions and can reflect back into the giant eyeball that's on the sword here. So this one is basically like a crystal ball, but sort of a weapon. I don't know. With that, Day 21 is complete. Day 22 is mechanical. Okay, I'm gonna be honest. Again, I didn't even try for this one because I don't have much experience with mech stuff, but I'll try to explain this one as much as I can. For this sword, I thought of adding some cogs to make the blade move. And by the handle, there is a lever, and if you pull out, the parts of the blade will split apart and the blade goes inside the handle, and if you push it, the blade will return back to normal, like the way it was before. It's like one of those stick batons that you extend when teachers present to class. If you know what I'm talking about, then yeah. Anyways, Day 22, sword is complete. Day 23 is summoned slash banished. Quick note, in 2023 I made a summoner sword, so for this one I made a sword based on the word banished. Now for this one, I didn't think of any fantasy like design for this one, so what I thought of when it came to the sword was stop signs. Not just those, but with extra signs that you see on the road, like some restricting signs that people are not allowed to go pass by. And for some finishing touches, I added some black and yellow tape wrapped around the handle. Okay, I thought of a little illustration for this one. Once someone yields it, it can banish anything. Let's say the sword is very dangerous if someone bans something you love. But with that, Day 23 is complete. Day 24 is jeweled. For this sword, I thought of making a sword out of an emerald. Emerald was the first jewel that came to my mind. Also, instead of just a plain sword made out of emerald, I thought of surrounding the bottom blade with a crown. With emeralds. Yes, I know, too many emeralds. What can I say? I like crystals. Especially emeralds. I added a metal case that surrounds the emerald blade to help protect the emerald inside it, to make sure that it doesn't fall apart, and to stay intact. With some finishing touches to the design, here is the final product of the jewel. And no, it's not for sale. You cannot find it on eBay. Day 24 sword is complete. Day 25 is woven. Once again, I use Google for the word, invention, fabric. You know, those fabric-like patterns that you see on clothing. I did not have much fun with this one. I first made an outline of what the sword would look like, and then I began to torture myself to try to make a fabric-like pattern. So you're gonna see me cover the entire canvas with a pattern until it fulfills the entire sword's outline. Then I erase what's left that is not inside the outline and fix the edges of the sword that make it look bumpier than flat. After that, I colored the whole thing in one swoop, and to make sure that it's in the theme, I added a ball of yarn at the bottom. to show that the sword is made out of yarn. Oh, and I also added a blue scarf. I just didn't want to have a singular color for this one, I guess. But I would probably not make something like this in the future again. Day 25 sword is complete. Day 26 is Storm. This theme was an easy one. I don't have an explanation for the sword, but I'll try to explain. The concept of the sword is around the handle. A black cloud with raindrops on one side, and on the other side, a giant lightning bolt as the blade. And what's better for the lightning bolt to stand out was to shine and glow, because lightning is light and bright, even for a second. Oh, and I even added some sparks around the blade to show some static into the piece. Oh, and I added snow. I think there are some snowstorms in the world, if that counts. I never had snow, but anyways, Day 26 sword is complete. Day 27 is Insect. Yes, I was so excited for this one. It's a bug-themed sword. I get to create a bug-themed sword. How can I pass that up? Also, it's part of the Swordtember list. Anyways, now instead of using one singular bug, I used a mixture of insects that Google helped me. Yes, I use Google. I use Google to make sure. Don't judge me. You can see the sketch of the concept design of the sword, but then you'll see me make some changes around either at the tip and somewhere in the middle of the handle. I was curious about the spider. I first looked it up if a spider is an insect, and turns out it wasn't. It's an arachnid. So I changed the spider to an ant in the center. Oh, and in case you're curious of what insects I use, I will list them down. An ant's body, a caterpillar's body for the handle, dragonfly wings, ladybug wings, a stick bug, and a wasp stinger. I was gonna change the top into a scorpion stinger, but I stuck to the wasp one instead. I try to get a little colorful with the colors, and I say that I did a pretty decent job on that part. But for people who are afraid of bugs, beware of this sword. And with that, Day 27 sword is complete. Day 28 is Crystal. I was also excited for this one. However, I didn't get much creative for this one. All I did was just make a sword out of a crystal. At first I thought of making an emerald sword, but I didn't want to make it look like a copy of the jeweled sword. So I instead made like a white diamond like weapon. I also wanted to make sure that it's a big weapon, like a giant crystal blade. I even added some more crystals, just to add some, because why not? Maybe I overdid it, but I don't care. Oh, and I even added some more crystals around the handle. You can see the center of the sword called chakra. I have some crystals with me. I use a chakra that I have as a reference. I would love to have this crystal weapon by my desk, and no one would ever touch it. In fact, this one's mine. Don't touch it. My precious. Anyways, Day 28 is complete. Day 29 is Necromancer. I had a bit of trouble with this one. I had trouble with this one because I already made a Necromancer sword back in 2023, and I didn't want to make a similar one. At first, I sketched out the concept design on how the sword is going to turn out. Made a few changes, and I think the sketch turned out well, completely different than the other one. So what you see here is a skull in the middle of the sword, and around it are some bones. Not gonna overdo it though, don't want to overdo it like Day 16's bones. Then on top of the skull is a red orb. Not only that, the orb has the power to spawn the hollow faded blade. I tried my best to make it look ghastly as I could, but I like how it turned out, and I would say that this is much different than the one that I made last time. But I love my swords no matter what. And with that, Day 29's Necromancer sword is complete. And with the final sword, Day 30, Glowing. When it came to this sword, the only props that I could think of when it comes to this word were glow sticks. That's right. I drew a sword completely made out of glow sticks. So how this concept came out to be was a big glow stick as a handle, with a small chain of glowing rings at the left side. Finally, I added 7 glow sticks that are attached to each other with those small plastic things. You know, those plastic things that people use to make glow rings like bigger and extendable? Yeah, those. I drew those small plastic things to form the blade. I even made the background black to make the sword stand out, so it can glow in the dark. And finally, I got to coloring, my most exciting part. Because after I put in the flat colors, I got to lighting immediately. Well, shading and lighting, a bit of both. But mostly lighting, to make each of the sticks like glow. That gives out the theme to the prompt, so that the entire thing can like glow in the dark. A fun and silly sword that can brighten your night. It sure did to me. And Day 30 sword is complete. And with that, all 30 swords have been drawn. Now, I'm gonna be honest, it's February, and I was planning to make this video at 2024, but I was either too busy or I was just being lazy, so I didn't have time to make this. Yeah, I was too busy. But I'm finally glad I got to make this Swordtember video, even though I'm a couple of months late. But I don't care, I still wanted to make it and show it to you. There is another art challenge video that I want to show you guys called Huevember. That also might be in the works. I'll try to make it and upload it soon. I just hope I don't get lazy or too busy again. But anyways, thank you guys so much for listening to my crappy explanations for all these swords. I'm not good at explaining my art, but it's my first time doing it, so I'll get used to it eventually. I probably will make some more videos like this. I do find this type of content interesting, where you explain your art. Yeah, I just find that cool. But if you made this far, thank you for watching it all the way. I hope you all have a wonderful day / night, and I will see you all next time. That's all. Ciao!